Hi everyone, welcome to the Advancement Centre and welcome to the world of magic and miracles. Once again, we push ourselves into the industry of magic and miracles and start to work beyond technology in a world that comes to you by itself in an instant as soon as I mention it. Now we can feel the flow that belongs to each one of us and takes us into areas where we've never been before. As we follow our spirit, it leaps between all the different worlds and all the different dimensions, in and out of the galaxies, and in and out of our next door neighbour's yard. All the variety in a moment or less. And so as this movement continues, we can feel the interaction with one another. It's so smooth, there is no harshness. There's just more movement every second and more encouragement to go further. As you look at anything, it changes form. You start to see past it. You start to allow all the integrated inputs and outputs that you used to call emotions to actually operate without giving them a name, just feeling the movement and the smoothness and the increased flow that has really no name or description. And now that we're back into that ease of living, we can look as far as we like and know that we'll never see it in another way, because our direction will change immediately. And all of a sudden, we'll either be looking to the left or the right, or we'll be in a different dimension. One movement of your hand, one elevated thought, one great action from another person, and your world is totally changed. And this is what you pursue every moment, to advance to where all the features of that elegant being called you actually appear in this world. The fact that somebody else can't see them doesn't matter. They can feel the effect. They can see it on your face and they can see the brilliance in your eyes. And this is where the world has no chance of surviving in its present form. It must follow you. And it must follow you to the extent of allowing you to be present everywhere at all times and not have to be placed in a box that has a name on it or be this particular type of person doing a particular job with certain qualifications. Your qualifications come with every package that you present to the world, because they're unique and they're yours. And you are qualified, and nobody else is. As this persists in your life, you will need nothing except the great presence of yourself and how it fits in amongst everything in the universe. As we listen to one another, we hear from a distance. We hear the call of one another without even being present. We understand each one's situation without being in it. And in a moment, we generate what is necessary to support each person who needs something that we can offer. And at the same time, we're never depleted. We're actually, it's a friendly fly again, we're actually rejuvenated by the presence of others. Because that moment when you connect, it is not a direct connection to them, it's a connection to your Creator that enhances your whole being. When we started talking about advancement, we were talking about methods, we were talking about how, and we were talking about what it means. And now, as we talk, we're generating the reality. Instantly, in every moment. And so that there is no comparison. We can't even find the path we came along because we went through millions of dimensions and allowed ourselves to create our own. And now, the brilliance of each one of your dimensions is connecting to a source that we've never spoken about before. We talk about your Creator, but there's a source beyond all things that comes from everywhere in every direction. And it's not the single focus that you call Creator. It's a multiple focus of all creation. And when we attach ourselves to anything, we're depleted. When we come across these multiple directions of energy and support, we're elevated. And so we take away the singular name and you experience the reality. The reality that keeps changing realities. The one that just continues to astound every one of us. And you can't put a single name on that, and you can't put a single focus on it, but you can live it. And that's the beauty of life that we knew we should expect when we got here to Earth. And it's now here, because it was always here. We didn't have to learn anything, it just wasn't time. We didn't have to discover anything, we just had to experience it. As we move forward further, we'll find more experiences that are totally unexplainable, but they're brilliant. And in that there is no manipulation of anything. It's just the joy of movement. The movement you feel even when you're sitting still. And the great things that come to you every moment that have no name. They're in a foreign package that you can't really pick. They'll come out of a sudden look from a child, a wave from someone across the street, somebody walking past that you never ever saw before, but they're totally familiar. That connection that comes out of nowhere from an angelic being that just about blows your socks off. They're continuing to fill your life. And every minute is an exciting panorama of things that we can't describe. So now we're at this point. We passed the point of nowhere. And we're now spreading out and deciding which way we will return to everything that we know and to everything that we don't know. And when you look at what you don't know, you can't find the little spot that says, I know this. Because what we know is so minute, it's no use even looking at it. In what we don't know, we don't need to know. We just need to experience it. And the great gifts that we have for the world will just appear in front of you because of that. This is a language of the universe. It's not a language of normal discussion, but it's becoming that. As we speak of our adventures, of what used to be strange things that happen to us, of the things we see, the things we feel, of the scientific developments, and the discoveries of all sorts of researchers. They're all coming back to confirm what we left behind. We left all that behind so that everybody could dig around in the garbage and find the best thing they want for themselves. We're going on with the new, advancing into everything that's new. All the things that don't have a physical shape, but can bring a physical shape to you. And now, as we step out a little further, we find we don't need the physical shape, because there's a glow within everything and within everyone that attracts us so much more than the physical picture of what we're looking at. The capability of the camera surpasses the shape of the camera. The capability of every being surpasses the shape of every being. And it's for this reason that we will interact with beings from other planets, beings that are in our field all the time, but not on the same vision range, not on the same feeling range. But you'll know their presence, you'll know they're there, you'll know how wonderful they are, and how much they really look after us. Even though you don't think they can touch you, you often feel they touch. The more we progress, the more we will reverse that to where we can feel them and we can touch them. In the middle of everyone's life, there is an interaction with silent, invisible beings. Even the one that you talk to and you say, that's my mind. It's another being, it's another part of you. You can actually stand it on the other side of the room and have a talk to it. And it won't necessarily give you the answers that you would give. You can use various tools to find out what your body knows that you really don't know. You can use a pendulum, you can use divining rods, and you'll get answers to questions that you can't answer. There are more beings around us, moving things, making them go in the right direction to give you the right answers than you would ever know. They are so active in everyone's life that you cannot even consider you're alone. So when you get a thought about anything, just look past it and see what it's hiding. The only reason you get a thought is because something better than that thought has come up, and your mind decides it doesn't want to let anything else in. So it brings up questions, brings up amazing thought patterns that disturb everybody. But if you look past them for 1 second, they'll drop away and you'll see that there's a real gift coming into your life that you decided, or your brain decided, it should block. So many of the things for the future seem like they're a fleeting image or a first thought. They're there and the thought comes in and covers them over. So you just look past the thought and you will have exactly what you need. This has always been the case. And because you see a young child before they can sit down and think about anything, they see things, they stand and they look at them, and you wonder what they're looking at. They hear things, and you wonder what they're listening to. And they're listening to all those other beings that are there to look after them. And they can actually see something. And if you question them, you'll find that they actually see the person's clothes, what they look like, how big they are, what they're carrying. And many times you'll recognize them as relatives or people that you've known before. So in our step forward, we're actually taking what's already been there for all our life, and we're elevating it to where it's useful, to where we can see it, to where we can present ourselves in a different manner. And you don't have to do anything to do that. As you decide you're not going to decide anything, it all pops out in front of you. There's a funny mechanism inside each one of us that says, if I make a decision, I have to stick to it. And if you do the opposite and say, I'm not going to make any decisions, all the correct decisions are made for you. They just happen, and they're perfect. And you just shake your head and think, I wonder how I worked that out. Or I wonder where that came from. And it works all the time. The next step that we're going to go through is where we all feel a different vibration that's actually pushing our body a little bit past what we would call as comfortable. As that starts to happen, you simply get on top of it, because it's a little bit like getting used to high speed. There's a little bit of vibration happens because you're traveling so fast. And after a while you enjoy it. It becomes a thrill. So as we're moving a little faster through the vibrations, you'll feel that little bit of a shudder. You think, oh, there's something wrong. Just get on top of it, and it takes a fraction of a second, and you'll get the thrill. The thrill of really living. And the thrill of being out there. It's like sitting on top of the spaceship. It's marvelous. So you wake up in the morning and there's a bit of vibration about you, just go, wow, I must have been on a big trip. That was a bit of a doozy. And enjoy the feeling that you get as soon as you take that light-hearted approach. If anything goes wrong with your body, use the wands and just bring yourself back to normal. Don't even consider going along the path of not being well. Well-being is part of your nature. And your body heals all the time. If you've got something wrong, it's because you didn't let the signals come in and out. So use your wand to balance that for the moment until you get used to it again. And you might call it something. Get rid of that. Because as soon as you name anything, you have to live it. You have to own it. You have to have it. Even a sore toe. But if you say, well, I just got a bit out of balance, I'll fix that up. The universe will balance it out and bring it all back to normal. And you don't have to decide what normal is. Normal is that beautiful glow that comes out of you whenever you're in tune with nothing. So as we move into what I call the next stage of life, you'll get used to going in and out of dimensions. And there's no path from one to the other, and there's no path back. You'll keep forgetting, you'll keep enjoying. You keep creating and not having it anymore. Because that is our nature. We can go from hot to cold in a fraction of a second without the temperature changing around us. We can go from great to greater as soon as someone tells you a joke. We can talk seriously to somebody and nobody else will hear. We make our dimensions. We keep people in and out. We can do the same with temperature. There are times if you're busy, you don't even bother about eating and you don't feel hungry. But there are other times when it's the total opposite. Both situations are great, but they can appear at the same time under the same circumstances, one after the other. And there's no path between the two. They're simply isolated events. Isolated, what would you call them? Isolated worlds that you create. So when you create a dimension around 2 people, around 5 people, around 10 people, that's like a little spaceship. And the stronger that is, the more supporting it is. It won't be long before we can just do that and create a dimension around our own little group, keep it warm. And or to keep the temperature stable. That happens around me a lot now. I can be standing in a room with a lot of people and suddenly I get overheated. Because there's too much movement with all the changes of dimensions that I go through. As we talk to one another, you'll find that the language of the universal language that you all know will start to generate itself over the top, not behind, but over the top of your conversation. So that you're in that communication and you're watching it as everything moves into a conversation. And the words of your conversation sort of drift into the background. And quite often you might say, I know I had the conversation, but I can't remember what it was about. But it was a great conversation, and I really loved talking to the person, or I really loved being with everyone. If you're in a crowd, you'd say it's a great atmosphere. But the atmosphere is what you've all generated together. Not through interaction, but through your presence. And through that smooth movement of all your fields that generates a whole new world in every second. We looked at advancement at one stage as one of those things that you could track and you could measure and you could compare. And all of a sudden you've found there's no comparison, nothing's the same, nobody's more advanced than anybody else, but you are personally advancing against your own standard. Not the standard of anyone, it's a universal standard that's yours. And it's not a, you talk about the rules of the universe or the laws of the universal laws. There are none. There's a continuous interaction when everything considers everyone else and you don't run into anyone and you don't deplete anyone because you don't need to. You only need to deliver more energy so that your engine runs faster, so that your whole being is alive and excited and exciting everything around it. And you'll start to develop things that you didn't know you had the capability to develop, because you've been brought up under a set of standards. When there's no standard, you can generate anything. You can make anything work. You can make the craziest thing actually operate. It doesn't have to follow the rules. And this is where science is actually leading us. Into areas where whatever you build, if you have the right intention, it will work. Whatever you want to make happen will happen if you have the right intention. But that intention is not in the mind or the heart. It's your overall being. So the intention of your overall being is what drives you. It's what says to you, I like to do this, I don't like to do that. It stops you in mid-air. It will actually, with the lights out, it will stop you running into a wall. That overall intention is with you all the time, and it's never changed, and it will take you to the most positive areas of all the universe. The things that you didn't think were real are actually the things that are real. The things that you used to think were real are actually made up. When we decided to come to Earth and display our capabilities, we didn't realize that we could actually trap ourselves in the same world. That's all we did. Each one of us personally trapped ourselves in this little world that we made up amongst ourselves. And we've even got to the stage of making sure that everybody in every country does the same thing. But yet they've found some tribes still in Africa that have never been seen before. They've managed to get the cameras, and they're primitive tribes, and they're living in the jungle, perfectly happy. And they look up and wonder what they can see in the sky. Just like we look up and wonder what we can see in the sky. But we will never know what it is unless we actually travel away. And that's one of the skills that you know you have. In an instant you can be in the aeroplane, on the train, down the road, talking to a friend, the other side of the world, looking down on the Alps, and you're there instantly. And you didn't have to make anything up. You can be at the beautiful sandy beach with the palm trees and white sands and turquoise water, and everybody can do it. So that's the real part of your life, and that's where each one of us experimented with living when we were kids. When you go to the beach, you're supposed to be in school, and you don't actually leave the classroom. So what we'll be encouraging everybody to do is absolutely follow your spirit. Chase it everywhere. It's mad. It goes crazy. It's never in the same place twice. And if it looks like it's the same place, it will change the scenery. You can follow it straight through a bus. It'll take you. And if you're just following your spirit, you are in the magic. And miracles is the name of the game. We stepped straight into only miracles last week. And if you can see the difference in the people that as we can see, that was taken on by the world. Everything you're reading about now, if it doesn't come out of the newspaper, is about miracles. And the focus on what has been fed to us is disappearing. People go, oh, that again. Turn the page. Oh, when are we going to get something good? And I find a story about something that happened to someone, or a little child, or a beautiful poem, or some great music. And they come alive. So the miracles, yeah, that's been taken on. So as we go to a break, stay with the miracles. You don't have to elevate yourself. Miracles elevate you. Chase your spirit no matter where it goes. Just like the little child, everywhere. And be as mad as you can be. We'll be back soon. Thank you. Welcome back. The elevation that we experience when we're in contact with other worlds is something that we can't miss out on. Many of you have lived like that most of your life. But now it's time for it to fill your life and not leave one moment go by without that connection. You will notice that there's a very, very fine energy on top of that sudden vibration that you feel. It's almost described as fairy-like. And it's available to you just like fairy dust. And you can wash it over yourself and feel it go into your body and all around you. And it will settle into every part of your being, into every cell of your body. And it will start to lift all the components back to their normal place, where they don't rub on one another, where there's no aggravation, where the joints are free, where movement doesn't need you to stretch your muscles. You just move. Where the motion of everything within you goes back to normal. Even your blood flow will take on a different form. And if the paths need to be changed, it will change. It's a very silent action from each one of you to actually brush it all over yourself. But once you do it, you'll start to feel the movement of it, and you'll want more. And you'll bring more and more into your body until you're actually sitting on top of that vibration by a long way. Because every cell will be smooth. Every movement, even as you talk, will be smooth and relaxed. And there'll be nothing jerky about any part of you. And in that way, our interaction will be smooth. Our future will slip straight into our field and fit perfectly. You could say that that's the way to prepare for the future. And you would be correct. But it must be continuous. And so as you get used to the feeling, your supercomputer will take over and it will keep bringing that beautiful energy into the cells and lifting all strain off you. And I mean all strain. You'll start to feel the tiniest of muscles relax. The smallest parts of you actually just letting go. Until you are just a different being altogether. You work automatically, smoothly, without effort. Once you get into that mode, all things are possible. Your body can move into places that you would normally not go, without fear, without having any sense of damage. It sounds strange right now, but it's just like the child that runs into the brick wall. They get up laughing And if you allow them to do that, they don't even injure themselves. In the next few days, there will be a big step forward for humanity in all areas of life. And you'll know exactly what I mean after the few days, because you'll look back and you won't be able to compare anything. The motion has started. The fact that miracles are the way of life has established a whole new field. And because of that, everything will lift to be on top of the wave instead of in it. So the wave of circumstance won't happen anymore. You won't get washed away by circumstances. You'll watch the circumstances come and go, but you won't be involved. Even in your own personal life, you'll have a whole different sensation of living. And of course, celebration, got to have celebration, otherwise you never remember it. You remember celebration, your body knows it, everything about you knows that's great. You try to remember all the events, it becomes hard work. But you remember the celebrations for the rest of your life and beyond. So as we interact with one another, there is no inferior energies. They are all energies that raise one another. They are all there to lift and to take the load off and to make everything smooth. And you don't have to do that. It's there. It's already done. And the brilliance of everyone's balance will come back. You'll start to see more and more young people doing things to absolutely astound you, taking no notice of the fact that there's gravity, taking no notice of the fact that they can kill themselves. They will just fly in the face of what we used to call danger, and they'll know that there's none, because it was all taught to be that way. And if you were never told about it, you'd be fine. So now you're taking on a position where you're holding yourself on that elevated platform and you're not getting off for anybody. And in fact, you'll take it higher and higher the more people you put on there, because it's the energy of everybody that actually raises the platform. And if you remember, it's only a few months ago that I told you about switching on your own power system, about how if you excite your spirit, boom, you're alive, your eyes sparkle, you can do 100 times more than you would if you were just sitting in a mode of misery. And how now you don't even have to switch it on, because it's running. There's no effort. It's running all the time. Your capacity is going up as it's supposed to. Your capacity each day is growing and growing and growing and growing. And you don't even know what it is. It's just a capacity to be, a capacity to live. And that capacity to live is going to go up many millions of times. Particularly after you feel the safety of what's just happening. There are ways to do everything. But if you don't follow any way, you've done everything. Because it all comes to you whenever you need it, however you need it. So without method and without standards, you have a better standard and better methods than have ever been found on this earth. And you don't have to prove it. So you can walk around all day without wondering, well, what am I going to do next? Because you're so absolutely busy, you can't even ask yourself the question. Because life is so exciting, particularly chasing that spirit around and disturbing every moment and feeling the sparkle in your eyes and everything around you. It's just going to absorb you forever. We don't have a lot to present to one another except everything. And how do you describe all that? You don't bother. Just keep offering everything. And no matter what it is, it's exciting because it's new. You can't offer what somebody's already got. So if you try to get a package of everything that you've got in the world, even all the knowledge, and offer it to everyone, they're really not interested because it's not new. It has to be new. Even what you find on the internet, you go through for hours and hours and hours, and the only thing that interests you is something new. It has nothing to do with the content. It's to do with totally new. So what we're presenting to ourselves every day has to be totally new. If it's not, you find something new, but you can't find it around here. You've got to go way out there, grab it out of your magic box and bring it back. And then you walk around with a smile on your face and everyone says, what have you got? Just a treasure. What is it? Can't tell you. You mean you don't want to tell us? I don't even know what it is. But you know you've got it. And if you keep doing that, it's just like a young child. They love new. They love presents. It can be a cardboard box. It doesn't matter, as long as it's different and if it comes from you. So there's no need for imagination. There's only a need for knowing that it doesn't come from here. Everything you bring into this world comes from nowhere. That's where you exist. In a place that you can't find, that's not on the map, and it's not even on the projected picture of the universe. You come from nowhere. And you have a vision of everything anytime you want. And it's real. We give names to things like dimensions and worlds and all sorts of things, but when you're out there, it does not matter. It's all available. And nobody else knows where it is but you. And you know exactly where to go and what to do to get all gifts that you have to offer the world. So keep bringing them. Even if they don't have a name, keep bringing them, keep making them happen, keep surprising yourself. And that special energy will just grow inside you till everything is totally smooth, totally exciting, and full of miracles. The magic is not so important anymore. it goes along with miracles. It used to be you need the magic so you can produce miracles. And now you're just producing miracles. Magic is one of the byproducts of the whole thing. The magic is who we are. The miracle is what we've become. In the next couple of months, you'll see what we're talking about actually turn up in the media. You will be amazed. It will all change around. Because there is a need for each one of those entities to have your interest. And when they don't have your interest, they have to change. And they're feeling it right now. So we don't mind if there's no newspapers, there's no television, we find other things to do. We chase their spirit all the time. And bring in new gifts that nobody's ever seen. Keep ourselves so busy doing nothing and creating exactly what we came here to do. That glow, that interest, that excitement, that projection into the world that keeps it alive. And so all these other things can come and go. It doesn't matter. We're all finding ways to look after one another because the system is not doing it. And we're getting better and better at it. The system will have to follow us. Otherwise, it won't have anything either. This is what I'm saying is about to change. The overall picture of our world will be more in line with our overall picture of ourselves. So as we stay on an elevated platform, man, they're going to have to follow. So we've declared nothing, but we've actually put it in the open. And once it's in the open, it's in the field where everybody lives. And if you live in a field that has totally positive nature, it grows on you. And it grows 10,000 times quicker than a non-positive. It takes a long time to screw something up. It takes moments to fix it. So we're actually doing a lot, even though you can't see it. But you can feel it and you know it. And life is absolutely beautiful. I took many of you on a trip in and out of various parts of the universe in about 3 or 4 seconds. And that's what I did when I first started to talk today. It took an instant. And now every instant, as soon as you disturb that moment, you go everywhere. You cover everything. You inspect everything. Boom, quick as that. And you feel yourself go, oh, that was amazing. Every one of you can do it. And it doesn't take up any time. And it takes no effort. Nor do you have to concentrate on it. It's actually set up to happen that way. It's supernatural for humans. So I'll leave you with that supernatural way of being, and let's see what comes to us during the week. Have a great time, everyone, and thanks very much. Bye.